small group right now. We might hope some more people come and join us. We have Bhavmit, who's a very dedicated time member, and he's really always been on the front. And I believe his story is very inspirational. We request him to spend around 15-20 minutes telling his story, how he started, or what took him from leaving a job and then coming and taking the challenge. And being an entrepreneur, he runs a very successful company, TiE Management, and has around 20-30 employees, and that is what it is in Chandigarh. He will be able to tell more on the setup, elaborate the setup, and welcome you all. Join us for coffee. Over to you, Bhavmit.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate inviting me. I am a thoroughbred Chandigarhian. I've done my schooling here. 10th, I did YPS, and in 11th, 12th, I was a 16 model and I took up sciences there. As far as my family background is concerned, I hail from a defense background. My dad's retired army officer. He's staying in Chandigarh, 36. After my 12th, I went to Bombay to do my graduation. I did my hotel management from IHM Bombay. Simultaneously, I did Eco Honors from Bombay University. So there, after my hotel management, I was picked up by a French company by the name of Accor Hotels, which is the world's second largest hospitality company. They've got brands like Sofitel, Hotel, Mercure, and Formula One, Motel 6. They've got many brands. So I joined them as a management trainee, and after 2 years, I completed that program successfully, and I was absorbed by them as a duty manager. And at that point of time, I had also cleared an internal exam with the company to do an MBA in CIAD in Paris. Because the management training program, I had come first in that, in the Indian division. But as luck would have it, still Aden had something set up for us. 2001 was a really bad year for all businesses. So I had to join the course in 2002, but could not happen for reasons because 2001 end kind of company said that we're not able to go for any large-scale training programs. But since I was already into that sabbatical mode of studying or something like that, I kind of called quits to my hotel job. But the only catch or the caveat was that by then I had missed out on the board to give maximum exams because by September, October, the filing is already over. So now I was able to give 2 exams. One was CET Maharashtra because I had done my graduation from Bombay. So you get that deal and you've got some seats reserved there. And one college I did is called as Faculty of Management Studies. That college is now shifted to Greater Noida. It's for the wards of defense people. That time it was in Jabalpur. So I passed out and did my course from 2002 to 2004. Did my internship with HSBC Bank here and ICICI Bank. And after passing out, I was picked up by Citibank as a City Gold Wealth Manager, which I was there for about a year and a half. So that's in the B-school days, kind of the entrepreneurial book had already taught me. So I consciously moved from there to a smaller organization because smaller organizations help you to do your things your way. You can do a lot of experimentation, and you get a real knowledge about how to run a small setup. One advice from my own experience I can share is that if you're working for a big company, that's the worst thing you can do to your life to become an entrepreneur. A small anecdote is when I was doing my hotel management training, you have to go compulsory for 6-month training with a hotel. So I did a holiday in Bombay, which is now a hotel. A cold kitchen, which is called a garde manger. It's a French term for a cold kitchen. And there was a shredding machine for salamis, which you could calibrate it. It was a German machine, and you could calibrate to even a 0.1 mm or lesser than 1 salami slice. So I kind of got a lot of interest on it. I learned the tricks of the trade, And for morning buffet breakfast, I was the guy to call. In that period, I was attached with the kitchen for about a month and a half. I really had a nice time. And one of the chefs there, he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Somewhere down the line, I want to start something of my own. But throw this machine away and you start using the knife." And I was kind of caught back. I said, "How is it going to do?" I said, "Son, what's the cost of this machine?" It's a high-grade German machine which costs 45 lakhs. So the cost of the restaurant if you're going to set up is not going to be more than 20 lakhs. This experience is futile. But yes, if you made up your mind to be in the hotel industry, then learning this will help you. Because then if you can graduate to better machines or whatever, should you choose kitchen as your career. So that was, off the book, off the mark. Somebody just gave me advice, but it's still in mind that, it's been about 10 years now, maybe 12 years. Then when I joined when I was lucky to get a break to one of the dream bikes to do an MBA, to get into back like HSBC, City and Lights. I was lucky to get that break. I had a good tenure with the bank. I was based out of Chandigarh. Luckily, I got Chandigarh also in the city. Subsequently, when I completed about a year or so, that's the time I started, as I was telling you, that I thought of moving into a smaller organization. The person under whom in the ICC bank I had done my training was the Vice President in India Bulls. So he gave me an opportunity to become a branch manager with India Bulls Securities Division. So after quite deliberation and all, I kind of took the bait and joined the organization. And gave due diligence as to why I should join now or why I should join later. So about a year and a half with Citibank, then I moved to India Bulls. So after about 8 months, I got this opportunity to get promoted as a Vice President Regional Manager handling Haryana and Chandigarh. First, in fact, I went to quit my job. I didn't tender my resignation. I went to speak to my boss as a basic courtesy that I would like to tender my resignation. And he said, for what? I said, I harbor this dream. When I joined the company, they had given me some ESOPs in India Bulls, but they had to fructify over a period of time. And I had some 15,000 shares. So my boss said, why do you want to leave? We'll promote you as a regional manager. You handle a particular region. And in turn, we'll increase your ESOPs to 35,000. I calculated the backward calculation for some 1.2 CR then. And 20% is odd, which opens up every year, and you tender some money to get that money. But for some, like anywhere between, given that day's rate, between 15 to 18 lakhs of free money. FBT was there, I did, being a finance guy, I did that friends benefit tax analysis and all, and still made some decent money without doing, had I continued with that organization. I took that bait. And I also took that bait from one angle that if I were to do business of my own and I had a branch in some satellite location, some far off location, how do you actually manage a company from, sitting at one location and handling another business? Because you will be visiting that place once in a fortnight, once in a month. I went ahead with it. So after 4 or 5 months, my dad just popped a question to me. He said that you had left city. This promised to me that you'll be joining a small organization to start something of your own. If that was not your planning, then why did you leave city? Because then you should have taken on that, because that's a better jumping boat to be in. So I was deliberating, and then actually that ESOPs was holding me back. It was a bone which was becoming bigger. My tongue was wagging, but I could never lick it. Somehow I said enough is enough. And May 2011, April, I kind of quit, and 1 month period I gave. And May 2008, and I started my organization, and we started doing, my forte at that time was equity trading. So we started off predominantly with equity trading, and 2007 mid till 2008 beginning, that was a boom period, a crazy period. Any stock was just one way up. It was like a rocket. You put your, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं बहती गंगा वाली हाथ है, आप कुछ भी डाल दीजिए, you're going to make some sizable money. 2008 is when reality struck. It's that the market came crashing down. And there were client positions, we were down by about few crores in some position, and it was a very terrifying situation. We didn't know what to do. It's like hope against hope, belief against belief. If the markets are going to revive, markets are going to revive. But they kept on falling. The losses kept on mounting even further. So somehow, we approached our client. He said, we'll have to split up a position because we run. There is something called the derivative trading. We call it futures and options. It's a very terrifying game. If you're caught on the wrong side. So it's a leverage situation. You pay 10 rupees and get 100 rupees. So if you're putting 10 lakhs, you can do 1 CR. It multiplies that way and cuts the sword that way back also. It's a double-edged sword. Learn from that experience that every day is not a day to make money. Every day is not a day to expand your organization. So took those lessons in the stride and kind of tried to stabilize myself for some time. April 2008 we opened. In fact, when I started the company, we had opened up a branch in Chandigarh, a small setup we had taken in 22. Simultaneously, I started one branch in Yamunanagar also. Yamunanagar, because since I was handling Haryana by virtue of my job, the team there wanted to join me. So I had opened that office in Yamunanagar, and then after about April 2008, we had opened one branch in Ambala. So since then, we have now added up a couple of products. Ambala we closed last year and we have merged it into Yamunanagar for business. The first chapter in which the contribution is by the poster boy of mine in Ahmedabad, Sameer Dikshitani of Naukri.com fame. It goes on to say somewhere in the middle that if you are God's child, if you're extremely lucky, you'll be successful in 5 years. If you're doing good, you've done everything fine, you'll be successful in 10 years. If the worst guy on the earth, you'll be successful in 15 years. The point is, you will be successful. But the bottom line is, do you have the guts to stay on for 15 years? In fact, if you read any analysis is there on Google, you just Google it, you'll find 90 to 95% of businesses, I would not use the word collapse, is that they kind of drain the energy out in the first year itself. Could be because of the entrepreneurial deal goes down, could be because of the market scenario, could be whatever things. But when a guy, there's something called intrapreneur. The difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur is that an entrepreneur is within the company and is given the freedom to do whatever he wants, something like that. So I would take that India was experiencing something semi-entrepreneurial kind of an experience with an I, which helped you to become that TiE in the later stage. So it's been pretty decent, and I would say that one thing which I realized that the sooner you jump into the game, the better it is. I think a lot of people get into that, that catch-22 kind of a situation, that I'll reach there and then do that. The point is, if you draw a life cycle, I was 27 when I started, I'm 33 now. I wasn't married then. So if I take up a normal circumstance, if somebody starts post 30, he invariably is married, may or may not have a child, but maybe planning one. He may have taken a house, he may have taken a car on EMI or something, so that thing catches up. So then either you do before 30 or then you eventually do after 45 or after 50. I've rarely seen people starting in between and being successful. A lot of people start in between, but eventually what happens is the financial thing, a lot of these things catches up with the person. He says, I was getting 2 lakhs per month, I jumped on the bandwagon, I can't do it, 8 months has taken my toll out of me, let me go back to my job. So I think it's something like that. But after 50, how many people have got the zeal to really clock it big? Few people. But then like Tulip Telecom is one example. The Lieutenant Colonel retired from the army. And a guy retiring from army, and Tulip is one of the world's, it's said of the world's second largest data center. And Tulip is doing some great business. So there are examples, people, but then we're talking about 0.1% of the 100% who want to go in for the business will reach at that level. So I feel that experience beyond a certain point is wasting your time. That is if you want to start something of your own. So one realization was for anything which I did, since I have been in the 2 industries, the hospitality industry and the financial service industry, has been one stark thing. That if 0 is zilch, you're starting from scratch, and 10 is epitome of knowledge, you know everything in and out. 0 to 8 happens in the first 2 years. And 9, from 8 to, in fact 10 never happens, it could be 8, 9, 9 and a half, takes an entire lifetime. So that 0 to 8 if it has happened, I think it's a good time to jump up. For somebody it could be 2 years, somebody 3 years, somebody it may be 1 year. But 0 to 8 does not take more than that time. It's a question of efficiency and effectiveness. The effectiveness happens within 2 years. Efficiency takes a lifetime. You're doing something in 10 minutes, you'll do it in 2 minutes. But knowing what to do is something different from 2 and 10. So I think as long as you know where you are, which line you're taking, I think you should just take the bait. Sometimes people say that we belong to a particular family background, we may not have the resources to call it, or we are from a wealthy background, still we don't have the time to do it. So it's you can look at the polarization. And one study I did in B school, 2 studies which will be of some interesting thing for you to observe. Why is Kumaramangalam Birla at 27 the chairman of Aditya Birla Group, or why is some Mukesh Ambani at 30 or 29 heading successfully? And why do we people who do not belong to a business background need an experience? Is very simple. You look at our, I belong to a defense background, a services background. At our homes, on the dinner table, you don't talk business. And if you do, your parents don't let you talk business. Either if you sit, I'm just trying to, draw that scenario of a Birla home, where at 5 he's talking business. When he's 25, he's got 20 years of super business to guide him. So I would say that 2 to 3 years of working in a professional life definitely add to that thing. I'm sure if in US they say that 2 to 3 years experience is must for an MBA, they have a very sound logic for that, or ISB which has now. And the second study, huge observations are nobody on this planet Earth has been successful by studying. Nobody. Extra successful people have been college dropouts. Jack Welch, who has made the term popular, called a CEO in the 80s, the G's, straight from the gut, very famous book, was a successful or one of the finest first employee, not an employer. Indra Nui or Pandit can be beautiful employees, top of the notch, but if you find the employer, you may be of a different background, probably half educated as well. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, do you really need to do the stuff? Do you really need to be a doctor? Do Malvinder and Shwinder need to be doctors to run probably the second largest chain? The answer is yes and no both. Yes, to the extent somebody should not come and do this. They should understand that bit. But not to the extent that they need to be like Dr. Prehan. And he's got such a huge medicity, but he's also doing operations and two plans on the strategies. I'm not saying he's done right, but I'm nobody. There are two successful people. Okay, to me that I can say something about that. But then I'm just trying to draw parallels. Somebody needs to strategize. And I don't think so. Education has never led to being people successful. They can lead what we call as being mediocre or mediocrity. I have this opinion that more you get educated, more blinkers you get, and definitely you're going to ensure that you cannot be super successful. You can be successful, and success is a very relative. Ambani can think that he is not successful if you look at Lakshmi Mittal. But it's nothing that what Ambani can buy. He can buy a Cessna, he can buy a Gulfstream, and he can buy that. But it's just a feeling, it's just a number that I am 60 billion and he is at 20 billion. At the end of the day, what is the Greece prices for? 20 billion, Lakshmi Mittal can buy out the entire country and throw it. But the point is, he's a very smart burglar. Why should he buy a country which is loss making? That's the whole crisis, 20 billion flat. And I'm sure Lakshmi will have at least 5 times that size of the money which is not accounted for. So that's my story, and that's my feedback. Any questions you would want?
So I'll start with the first one.
Sure.
So what is the youth of today missing? What irritates you when you see a young guy jobless because of his own mistakes?
I would say, as of now, government scholars classification below 40 is a youth, so I'll classify back.
Yeah.
I am also one of them, but in general, if I say people younger
Because
to me
why
of
I'm asking this question is, being in TiE, working at TiE, I think every third day, Ankit would agree with me, we get a guy or somebody coming to us and referred or not referred or directly jobbing. And when we try and help that person, trust us, we send them to 1 or 2 people, and after that they say, Maza nahi aaya. There are certain relations where you call them and they say, okay, so we will keep them for them. And even then they run away from it. Why? Because they don't want to learn. Even if they have 3 years gap after their studies, they would like to get a job of 20.
Oh, but Shmeet, the problem is in the education. Look, when I did my MBA, every year it's deteriorating. Now, circa 2004, when I passed out, it's about 8 years back. Okay, I was into a defense kind of institute, you can say the atmosphere is different, but I'll talk about normal B school, not the top notch, not the Ivy Leagues of India. Let's talk of any B school. There's plethora of them, at least 40 of them in and around Chandigarh. I go to some B schools to teach, I'm going to UBS to teach, I'd gone to Chitkara, Mohit had asked me. Look at the problem, like, if I leave, I have to talk about normal B school. स्कूल का डायरेक्टर क्या बोलता है, आपको जॉब मिलेगी 6 से 10 लाख. बच्चे ने पूरी जिंदगी पढ़ाई की नहीं होती, वो कहता जी आ लो 50,000 बच्चे की एडमिशन कराओ एजुकेशन. Then when the guy gets in, he only sees I am Ahmedabad 1 crore salary. And what he visualizes, I will come to the office at 10 with a murk, nothing less than that. I will come, somebody will open the door and the post will open, somebody will open the door for me. I'll walk in, very smart looking lady, S with Y, will say, good morning sir, how are you? This is your office, what do? I sign checks, nothing less than 10 lakhs. With a Mont Blanc plan, I sign it. At 1 o'clock I have to go home with my beautiful wife to have lunch. At 3 o'clock I can call up my office and say I'm going for golf. Because I've already signed those checks. So this is what the impression the people carry.
So that's the education.
It is, the colleges have to blame for
Quality
it.
of education.
But I would say the students are to also blame for it.
What
They
do you
never
think?
study.
Parents also.
Parents, about some, you can say a quarter percentage of the blame would go to them.
What do you think? Anybody?
I think it's part of orientation more to do with the societal orientation, like what he is mentioning, that what we see around us, so we just try to aspire for it. So I think that's more relevant.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to differ with you on this. It's not the education system. I think it's the
Absolutely not.
It's the awakening that human being has got in his family. He has to be made aware that every Subedar cannot become the chief of the army.